Welcome back, painting friends. Today we're going to paint a beautiful flower field. Colors you're going to need: pink, yellow, blue, purple, green, and white. Now, I always keep my favorite 4 brushes in the studio. I've got my 1-inch flat brush, my 10, 6, and 1 round brush. Don't forget to have a cup of water and a rag for keeping your brushes clean. And if you like what you're seeing here today, make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with Purpose, so you're kept up to date on all of the tutorials. So let's go ahead and start at the top. I'm going to start with just some light blue paint, and I'm just going to brush it in about the top quarter of my picture. I can go ahead and take just a small amount of white also on that 1-inch flat brush and just kind of brush a little bit of white in there. I don't want it to be too much, and I definitely want it to show up. Perfect. Go ahead and wash that brush off with a little bit of water. I can keep some of that blue on there, because what I'm going to now do is grab some purple, a little bit of purple and a lot of white. I'm going to do my next layer. So I've still got a little bit of that blue on my brush. I'm going to brush that next layer in. I'll bring some of that purple up into the blue. And I'm holding my paintbrush at an angle like this, so it's not making a flat line across. It's really just making those little skinny, teeny tiny lines. So I'm going to grab a little bit more purple, a little bit more white. And then I'm going to wipe that brush off. I am going to really wash it good this time. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to now grab some white and pink. We're going to make kind of sort of an arched little line through here, okay? So the white and pink, I'm just going to fill in outside of this arched line as a very, very, very light pink. It's okay if some of that pink and white goes into that little opened arch area, but most of it will stay on the outside edge of it. I'm going to take some of that pink and kind of pull it up into that purple. Wash that brush off really well again. And this time we're going to start with white right here in the center. Okay? So just some white right there in the middle of that arch. And then I'm going to take white and yellow on that brush, and I'm going to start to blend between the pink and that white area. I'm going to go ahead and wipe that brush off and grab just white, and I'm going to go back in here, lighten that, a little bit of that yellow, but mostly it's going to be that white color. Now I'm going to take my finger, I'm going to add a small white circle. I'm going to switch over to my number 10 round brush, and I'm going to take a little bit of watered down pink paint. So I'm going to get water on my brush and add it to my pink paint, just a little bit of watered down pink paint. And I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to take my brush, I'm going to pull it across, but I'm going to kind of wiggle it in my fingers like this as I pull it across. And that's going to give me some really interesting clouds. If I go this way, I'm going to flip my hand around, do the same thing. Go over them a couple times and you'll get some yellows mixing in. You'll get some nice bright pink, but also some darker pink. You go over those same clouds a couple times to kind of thicken them up or change them just a little bit. I'm going to do the exact same thing using purple. If you start to get a drip like this, it's not a big deal. Just wash your brush off, dry it off, and just kind of pull that drip. You just kind of blend it back in with the painting. I think my first round of watered down pink was a little bit too watery, and that happens. I'm going to take a small amount of yellow paint and just kind of put it towards the bottom of these purple clouds. I want to have just a small little highlight on the bottom of those purple clouds. All right, so for the base down here, this bottom layer, I'm going to make a triangle of white right here, going down from the sun down to the bottom of my canvas. And outside of there, I'm going to add some yellow. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to paint these edges over here green. And I just have my number 10 round brush. I'm going to paint these edges green. And then I'm just going to kind of pull these colors across. And I want it to be like a small smiley face colors. And we're doing a little valley of flowers. So as I'm kind of coming across and through, you're going to see those yellows and those whites starting to mix with the green. I'm going to take some blue and some green on my brush, and I'm going to start at this edge and just kind of pull in some blue and green, following that line. I might even add a little bit of purple. All purple's going to do is give it a really dark, shadowy kind of look. And I'm just looking for some areas to have kind of some dark shadows coming into the center. So I'm using green, blue, and purple. These don't have to be symmetrical on both sides of my canvas. I can make one side more aggressive with the dark and one a little bit easier. All right, we're going to let this dry. We come back in. We are going to add those flowers and trees. With a dry background, I am now ready to go in and start adding my trees and my flowers. So I'm going to start off with purple and green on my brush. I'm going to mix those in a little bit. I'm looking for a really, really, really dark green. And purple's a great color to mix with it to darken it up. And I've got my number 6 round brush. And I'm just going to take some nice tall lines. And as they kind of come in, they're going to dramatically get shorter, okay? So you don't have to have it be equal on both sides. I don't like it when things are super symmetrical. And then really, we're just going to kind of take these little lines and just kind of flick them up, showing that there's probably some more greenery back there as you're getting closer to that sun. Even just a couple of dots would be fine to kind of keep throwing in there. As far as our pines go, I'm just going to start going here with that dark color. I'm just kind of going across with my brush. Getting a little bit fatter as we head down towards the bottom. Then I'm going to go on the outside edge of this. I'm going to start adding a lighter green. Then I'm going to go on the outside of that and add a yellow green. I'm going to have that darker center. And it's going to slowly get just a little bit brighter. I'm only going to put the yellow on this left-hand side by where the sun is, but just a little bit of yellow and green mixed together. All right, I'm going to jump in speed motion and knock all of these trees out. All right, let's talk about these flowers. Now you can make your flower field any color you want. I'm going to keep mine kind of like a purplish yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with purple paint on my finger. I'm going to add a little bit of pink to it. And I'm just going to kind of lay out like a little background. And that means I want to add some dark colors underneath here. So I'm just using my finger. I'm using it almost like a little stamp. And I am going to just add in some darker shadow areas in here. Now I can get a little crazy and add a little bit of white every once in a while to just kind of have some fun with it. But these darker shadow areas, they are going to go up into these light areas and kind of fall behind when these areas kind of jet out. Okay, so they're only going to kind of go up into those areas right there. Again, I can add a little bit of pink in there. I can add a little bit of white in there, but we're just adding a nice shadow for our flowers to sit on. To make it go faster, I'm switching to 3 fingers because this is taking a long time. Now I like to look at this at this point and realize, I don't like how far this goes in. So you can cover up some of that dark area if you think that it's just a little too ununiform or maybe a little bit too aggressive, and you kind of play with it. I think I like that better. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start working in the back and moving my way forward. In the back, I'm going to use the back of a pencil. And I'm going to take some yellow and white, and I'm just going to kind of start to put some small dots back here. And I'm not really looking to have it totally filled in. I'm definitely okay if some of that purple shows through, but I'm just going to start by adding in some little yellowish white dots all the way back. And then I'm going to switch over to my finger because I want the spots to get a little bit bigger, but I don't want to mix it as much as I did with the purple and pink. I want those colors to just kind of stand on top of the purple and pink. So I'm washing my finger off every once in a while when I think I'm getting a little bit too close to that pinkish purple mixture. At this point, I'm going to start adding some pink into my mix. Now I'm going to do pink, purple, and white. So pink, purple, and white on that finger. I'm going to come up here to the front with a little bit bigger lines or a little bit bigger dots. So I'm pressing my finger down a little bit harder to make sure that these guys show up a little bit better, because these will be the ones we're going to add the detail on. And as that's starting to dry, I'm going to take my number 6 round brush with some really bright yellowish green paint. So I've got some yellow and green mixed together. And with that number 6 round brush, I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to add like little spots of green. There's just little itty bitty pops of green inside of that pretty purple. I'm going to take a little bit of purple and just kind of make a small little swirl inside of these. I still have my number 6 round brush. If you think that brush is too big for this job for you, switch over to a smaller brush. But all I'm doing is taking that and I'm just making a small swirl inside of each of these little flowers. And then I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and put it on these front purple flowers also. Again, you're going to have to wash your brush off often or wipe it off often to kind of keep some of that from mixing. That yellow really makes those purples pop. And I'm going to go in with the back of my brush and some white paint, and I'm just going to put a couple of white spots. Any place that I think there might be some groupings of flowers growing. I'm going to take a little bit of that white, kind of add a couple of little lines on my clouds. Really love it when you have those cotton candy colored clouds and they've got really crisp white in there. I'm now going to take some of these green on this brush. I'm just going to kind of brush some lines out. I want it to look a little bit more textured, I think. Yep, I'm happy I'm doing this. All I have is green on my number 6 round brush. I'm just kind of pulling it out to the edges and giving it a little bit more texture than that original dark undercoat that we had. I'm gonna add some of that light green, not a whole bunch, but a little bit of that light green in there, closer to the flowers. Right, now I think it's finished. Make sure when it's finished, you find a color that's going to show up on your canvas and sign your name. I always put my initials in the bottom right corner. Now make sure that you take a picture of what you're painting at home and post it on my Facebook page, Painting with a Purpose. Make sure that you like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Painting with a Purpose, so you're kept up to date on all of my tutorials. And remember, as always, stay kind, stay creative, and stay safe. Have a great day, friends. Bye now.